is assistant professor, and 22% associate, and 4% is adjunct professor. And I would like to discuss this later, but it can be, of course, included postdoctoral researchers or early career researchers. But in this context of like ending up in a faculty position, it's a bit different. Maybe it can be another research that can be discussed. So what we did is basically go to every university in our sample, in every faculties and departments, and look for the openly and publicly available CVs. And if those CVs are not available, we emailed them and asked them if it is okay to use their CVs for our research. In some particular cases, if for example, there was one person who was refused because that person told me that if I included them, then that will be not anonymous, because this person is the only one who works at that department. So this is how we, succeeded in the anonymity element. And we collected this data manually. And also, we coded 3 stages of academic career. First is the doctoral education. Where did you go? Where did you go as a short-term or long-term mobility? Where did you get your PhD? And then we coded postdoctoral interim experiences until the time when is the first faculty position is acquired. And then if this person have any prior faculty positions before coming back, coming and starting at these our sample institutions, we also coded that too. And we coded the institutions and origin of the countries. And while we coding, we included the, if, for example, yes, it is okay to say, okay, this is abroad and this is Swiss universities, but in the context of abroad, Germany, Italy, France, and all these neighboring countries to Switzerland are coded separately to be able to show how internationalization reinterpreted by these countries, because the knowledge of the languages of the neighboring countries matter a lot in terms of recruitment of Swiss academics, like academics in Swiss higher education institutions. And based on that, we created a model which includes 5 different paths for Swiss higher education system. And this model shows us academic careers based on the internationality and locality of the academic working experiences. And we are building our research based on this model. So let me introduce them. So these are 5 different career paths that are emerged from our data. In the first path is global stars. Global stars are those who holds their PhDs from abroad and has no interim positions and landed directly to their institutions, which is, I will explain this later, but the ranking of their institutions where they get their PhDs matters a lot in this sense. And in the second path is for internationals. Internationals are those, again, with doctoral degrees from abroad, but they have also some interim positions, some postdoc positions abroad, and then they started to work at our sample institutions. Now we have transitors. Again, have postdocs from abroad, but they have postdoc positions are mostly from Swiss institutions. So as if they need some transition institutions in between their PhDs and faculty membership. For returners, they have PhDs from Swiss institutions, but they have postdoc experiences mostly from abroad, and they turn back to Switzerland to work at Swiss universities. And the local stars, they are local. fully local. They have PhD, Switzerland. They have few postdocs, or not postdoc, but some interim positions abroad, but maybe 2 months, 3 months. So they only from Swiss institutions. By the way, I would like to add something. When we code the experiences, we consider the experience should be more than 1 year. So if it is less than 1 year, we didn't add this is this is an abroad or Swiss. This is just a part of it. So based on this, in accordance with the our sample, the most like the first 3 or maybe 4, but no, it is first 3 part is internationally oriented paths, and the last 2 parts are more locally oriented. And you may see how especially the global stars and internationals are the you can see that this is Swiss higher education institutions are so international. Faculty members are so international. Everybody has some kind of global experiences. But in the reality, when we look at, for example, Path 1 distribution, when we look at the distribution of PhDs of faculty members by country, for example, you may see that 14% of this path and 11 and 7% and 4% are have their PhDs from countries where they share the language of one of the national languages of Switzerland. Yes, they are from abroad, but they have a common, they have a connection with these countries and Switzerland in terms of national language. And the duration to start their faculty position is 4 years. So it says that, okay, if you have a PhD abroad, you may start their faculty position in averagely 4 years in Swiss case. When we look at internationals in the second path, we see that 30% of this path have their PhDs from Germany, which tells a lot. I mean, and the distribution of these PhDs in accordance with the first path of global stars, it shows that the connection between the neighboring countries has been increased during when we look at this path. And when we look at the distribution of postdoctoral experiences by the main language of the country for the internationals, you see that, okay, again, they have a very diverse positioning in terms of distribution, because 42% has their PhDs, has their postdoctoral experiences in a country where English is spoken, mostly English is spoken. But when you see the rest of it, it is the German-speaking countries, French-speaking countries, and Italian-speaking countries. So universities prefer people who has experiences abroad, but they need to know the local language, the culture, and the all these kind of they should have the ability to teach in local languages. So in the third path, which is translators, this is again the distribution of PhDs by country. So you may see that duration to start their faculty position has increased to 9 years. And again, this is the same situation with the origin of the PhDs, because again, Germany and Italy and France and Belgium and Canada and Austria has some portion of it. And again, I may remind you, the third path is again who has their PhDs abroad. So when we look at the interim positions by institutions, you may see that these are from the they have their postdoc experiences from Swiss universities, but you see that there is a interim positions at other Swiss universities, but there are some people who has these experiences from ETH Zurich, and University of Zurich and University of Lausanne, which shows that academic inbreeding somehow they're existing, and they prefer, if they hire someone, they would prefer some experience within a Swiss community, even though you have PhD abroad. And these are the returners. And the returners, you see that there is a dominance by the ETH Zurich and University of Zurich. These are the distribution of PhDs. Again, this is by institution. And duration to start the faculty position is, again, has increased by 10 years. And as opposed to first three paths, in this path, returners have their postdoctoral experiences abroad, but for this time, the majority with 6 to 7% have their experiences from English-speaking countries, which is different than the first three path. Because now, if you have a PhD from Swiss universities, you need to be able to have some experiences abroad. So all these graphs tells us that balance should be sustained. If you have this, you should have that. And these are the local stars. And local stars are those who has all their PhDs and postdocs from Swiss universities, but their duration to start their faculty position is decreased by 7 years. And when you look at this path, you may see that this is not that much a case for academic inbreeding, because there's a diversity between the sample institutions and other PhD institutions. Okay, so now maybe I may add something here. So in this presentation, I would like to show you the aspect of how academic career paths can be interpreted, what they tell us. But in our research, we are trying to build also university-based analysis and disciplinary analysis. So, but they are a bit of, we are thinking about them, we are developing it. But as far as now, what we see that, okay, again, internationality is so important. You may have your PhD from abroad. You may have your PhD from Harvard. Okay, if you have a PhD from Harvard, you may come to work at Swiss universities, which shows that, okay, these kind of academic affiliations, all those reputation matters a lot. But if you don't have an access to the knowledge of working at Swiss universities, or if you have some experiences from countries which has a language spoken like Switzerland, then you may need to have or build your experiences. Now we are trying to add another dimension. We are planning to make a field work about it in terms of how these people are recruited. It is now currently discussed with me and Professor Benedetto. And what we can see from this, traditional recruitment practices and academic inbreeding are still widespread, but there's a discourse, and discourse covers everything. It shows that, okay, we are the most international ones, but in reality, the reality is a bit of different. And internationality is a matter of degree in terms of career stages, but also there are different dimensions of mobility during PhD interim positions. And the diversity of these characteristics and definitions represents a key resource to universities which shows that they can recruit international faculty members, but they need to comply these local constraints. And you may see that the possibility of reinterpretation of internationality, okay, it is associated with physical long-term mobility, but in my opinion, and this is how it is linked to the theory itself, how you reinterpret and how much you can interpret in internationality may depend on your resources. How you are seen as from your community, how you're seen in Swiss case, how cantonal authorities approach you as a university, how you added values are diverse. So it depends on resource, and I think resource dependence theories and organizational legitimacy explains a lot this half part of it. So this is how we build our research, and our plan is to develop from it, and we would like to add again the institutional university-based analysis and the disciplinary-based analysis, because there can be a few teeny changes in there, but still work in progress. But it is again, it's end of it. So thank you so much for listening and joining, and I would like to hear your thoughts and questions. I guess. I think.
Okay, I invite Emanuela here for the presentation. I will. Yeah. Okay. Please, Emanuela, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for your presentation. What I did is to prepare some slides, because I read your paper, not only your presentation, so I have a more complete vision of what is your work ongoing, at least for this part. Can we put it down? Okay, perfect. So, no.
Maybe.
What is the?
Maybe from here.
Okay.
Enter is okay. Okay.
Okay, so basically, the aim of the paper is how university balance between the pressure toward internationalization and the local regional needs. You'll deal with this problem looking at the career patterns of faculty members whose CVs are publicly available, or, as I understand it from your presentation, those that accept to send you the paper,
Yes.
the CV. I have the research question elaborated around two items, basically. How do university operationalize the recruitment of international faculty members, and what are the main characteristics of the academic careers? This paper is focused on Switzerland Swiss universities, which is not a limitation for me, because it's very nice to go inside one countries, and could be also could give the possibility also to make some general outcome for the community. So the argument is that the recruitment of scholars with different career paths allows combining internationality and local rooting to varying degrees at university level. That's correct interpretation. Okay, so move on with the strength. For me, the strength of this paper, as far as I understood it in this version, I don't know what is the date of this version, maybe you have progressed them, the problem the paper wants to discuss is well presented, and internationalization is undoubtedly an important topic for the university. The research questions are clear and feasible. It's very clear what you want to do, and what you want to do is not something which is in the sky. It's something that can be documented and can be also operationalized at some time with some hypothesis. If the research expectation, so the argument to demonstrate, is very interesting, I think. What I appreciate very much is the way in which you treat the literature, because the literature recalled for both the section of international recruitment and a faculty member and a different meaning of international recruitment is well developed. And I saw from your presentation that you have even implemented it. And you have also strengthened the fact that it's mainly coming from organizational studies. This is something that we have to keep in mind because shape the type of theoretical background of your work. You have a good empirical base because 74 CVs of faculty member professors is good. Having all the professors is not a limitation. I fully agree, because professors are the core of the persons that has stabilized and the core of the recruitment strategy of one university. So it's not a limitation. It's a very good focus, a very good perimeter for your research question. Now, what I would like to discuss, and my comments are mainly about the conceptual framework, the method, results, and connection between results and the literature that you mobilize. So the conceptual framework, you declare to have a model, which is basically categorization of the career path, which is interesting. You have 5, let's say, cluster.
Yes.
Now, ideal type, you have to be clear in this respect. Are there clusters? Are there ideal types, which are global stars, international transitors, returners, and local stars, which was created after the two-stage coding. So my question is, in this case, is this a research result of the paper per se? In the current version, it seems a departure point for further analysis. But for me, it is a result. So you derive from the coding this classification, this clusterization, these ideal types. Then you can test them for the institutional strategies. While in this version of the paper, as far as I understood it, it seems that is not in this way. And the second point, what is the link between this categorization and the literature mobilized in the paper? How do you characterize the different profiles in terms of career path over the 3 major steps? I beg your pardon. Another point is about the method. The method section in your paper is not fully developed. The CVs come from the university websites. This is one important point. If not all the academic upload the CV, data could be affected by selection bias, and the same holds true in the case you send a mail. This must be clarified because it's typical that the people that have a higher level of CVs put the CVs on the website and are willingness to send you the CV. So how far is the selection bias affect your paper, your sample? This is one point. The second point is the coding process is done through qualitative textual analysis. This is what you said, of the elements that are selected, but there are no details on how the textual analysis was developed. And my feeling is that this is more content analysis than textual analysis. Is it
Okay.
textual analysis? And in this case, what kind
Okay.
of text mining or
Mhm.
textual analysis have you developed? Must be clarified. The same for criteria for the sample selection,
Mhm.
which are not clear
Mhm.
very much. And I suggest to have a sample of the sample characteristic by academic position, gender, university, faculty, and category they belong, which can be useful for understanding.
Okay.
Now, the other point is about the results. In the version of the paper I read, the results are largely descriptive, without a robust interpretation of university strategies to balance global and local. This can be improved, and you have a lot of resources to do this work. To figure out the recruitment strategies of the universities to balance global and local, the paper must consider items related to the different profile of the Swiss universities, because you are treating objects, organizations which are very, very different inside the Swiss university.
Mhm.
The third point for me is extremely important. The item of mobility to from neighboring countries and the item of languages of the countries is not well discussed in the context of the geographical position and multilingual characteristic of Switzerland.
Mhm.
You take one very specific country, which is central, geographical central in Europe, with a lot of neighboring big countries, and which is characterized by being multilingual.
Mhm.
Does it mean that Switzerland is per se an international community, an international, both national community? While the people, because in your paper sometimes it seems that coming from abroad, from Germany, for instance, because Germany is so high because ETH and Zurich are the main attractor of the sample.
Yes.
Yeah, in the sample there is
get your
a
point.
clear imbalance
Okay.
between German-speaking people and ETH and University of Zurich. Is it not international, or it's less international? There is some understatement in your writing, which seems to suggest that there is a graduation of internationality, which separe those that have a language connection with Switzerland with those that are coming from English-speaking countries,
Yeah.
US mainly, first and foremost. What surprised me, you didn't present in your slide the fact that also you analyze the difference of the professor's career path by disciplines, which is very interesting, really very interesting. And what I saw in the paper is that there are no such important differences expected. So if we consider the level of internationalization of the different communities, because it is clear that medicine, for instance, and STEM are highly internationalized than social science and humanities, but this is because these kind of disciplines have a more important local routing because of the type of research question and topic of research that they deal with. So, but if we consider this different level of internationalization of the fields, there are no big differences in the career path. And one item that I didn't understand looking at your paper is if the analysis is developed at the department level or disciplinary level, because I find the department level in page 2 and disciplinary level. This I suggest too, because it's a different type of. So my suggestions, very few. The paper has a lot of potential in my understanding. It's improved the conceptual framework on the career path of the different profiles. there is a need of contextualize the problem of the tension between local and the global in one small country as Switzerland. Because there is one more argument, which is the push toward internationalization is higher in small countries than the large ones. The large ones has a bigger community, scientific community at national level. And this national community might be extremely internationalized. So going from abroad on having a stage abroad is not necessary. And recruitment of people with PhD abroad is not necessary, not so necessary. Third, elaborate the characteristics of the categories of the research path, and I say avoiding multiple descriptive figures. And the most important point for me is that the focus in my understanding should be more on answering the first question, how universities balance the tension between the local and the global. What are the strategies of universities looking at the career path? So the career path should reveal the strategies of the university. So it's a reposition of your treatment of your discourse in terms of university strategies, which is much more coherent with the literature you mobilize. And the last point is I wonder whether to integrate a bit the data collected with 1-2 interviews at the university level. That's my and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
If you want, give some response to Novella.
That would be great. So maybe. Right. Okay. So thank you so much, Manela, all the comments that you made. The reason, like when I do this, sorry,
Please, you can stop the.
Okay. When I designed the research and when I read the relevant literature, I see the connection, and I see how. Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just a couple of things.
Of course, that's okay. Okay. I see the connection between the literature itself and the career path, but I sometimes feel like lost in the empirical part. When I prepared my presentation yesterday, for example, the question that you asked, the department or disciplines, I see that is why I didn't include it, because I see that there is a connection, because I look every university, but every university present their faculty members differently. Some put in the list of institutions, some put in the list of departments. And I realized that before clearing that out, I couldn't integrate that part to research. That is why I didn't include my presentation. Regarding the interviews, I completely agree with you. This was what I was telling from the beginning, but we needed to see how what we are going to see as a overall path of these academic faculty members. So we will be doing that to integrate. And also, I think we need to look at the specific internationalization strategies of each university in our sample. About the methodological part, I agree with you, but I agree with you after I hear you. So I didn't thought about it before I was presenting. So I will be working on that. Regarding the sample, maybe I should have been more clearer. It was we were trying to understand the not early careers, but not so like because when you start to work in a university, the timing is very important in terms of, for example, higher education field, the age of higher education field, might be different when a person appointed to a university, and if the field is new and fresh, then the recruitment might be easier or might be different than now. So we try to stick with the 2010 as like how Bologna system related to Switzerland, but maybe I can develop my argumentation more. And also, I agree with you about the Switzerland, how I can, introduce my case. So for the next steps, we are going to integrate the interviews, but also I need to make clear on some points. This is definitely very useful comments, and thank you so much. I'm gonna work on them. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, just
If you
yes. If there are some questions from the audience, please raise your hands, your virtual hands, or physical hands for persons that are present here, and or otherwise you can send a message by chat. We have Andrea here and Antonio. You won't come here to.
But before a check, maybe it's better.
No, we have nothing from the audience. Moment.
think so.
I think that we can start with you.
Okay.
You won't come here to for the microphone.
Maybe Ugo.
Ugo, please, Ugo. No, you have.
No, okay, you can hear me. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you also, Emanuela, for the comments. I just have a short comment. While I agree with Emanuela that relating to a single country is not a limit, but on the other side, I invite you, after you finish your PhD, to explore other countries. This because I feel that the setting in Switzerland is rather peculiar for many reasons. As Emanuela said, a small country in the center of Europe, but also there might be the presence of a sort of a pull factor, like good wages and good money allocation from the state for research that might be very attractive for people abroad. I was astonished in what I think the first category you showed, that there is this high peak of people with a US PhD coming to Switzerland in that category. And this was rather, this would never have happened in Italy, for instance. Yeah, I know my setting is from a very particular place on the other side, okay, which is the Italian context, but maybe they're also exploring this factor could be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ugo. I agree with you, definitely. But this paper, particularly in this paper, we are aiming at doing our analysis at institutional level. We are looking at institutional level strategies. But I agree with you on the national policies. That would be
point in the presentation. Sorry.
Yeah, and no, that's I may be put it in between my
Okay.
the notes, but of course, but I agree. Like at national level analysis, that would be an amazing research to understand better. So I put it in my notes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other question from the virtual audience. I think that we can start with the local audience. Please, Andrea, come here in order to select the.
Pinar, thank you for your presentation. The study you presented is very nice and inspirational. And thanks, Emanuela, for the comments. I have just maybe it's an advice. I see a little tension between the level of investigation you mobilized in describing the research question and the level of investigation you mobilize when you want to test your research question, because you want to test or control something at the institutional level, but your empirical base is at individual level. So I suggest to revise some wording from the research question, like operationalize, how university operationalize. I think that this point was said more or less by Emanuela before, because it's just like career paths reveals this operationalization. You are checking something at the individual level, like a de facto situation from the institutional level, from a de facto situation at the individual level. Is something it can be better clarified, maybe, because when you presented the research question, the first thing that come up to my mind is, okay, is something related to documentary analysis on the strategies of the university. And I was surprised that all the analysis is at individual level, which is not bad or wrong, but it's good that you clarify the tension between the two levels and why you are studying the individual level to respond to a research question at the institutional level. So the term operationalize makes me think to the strategies of the university, the four Swiss university. And then if you have the career paths as empirical base to demonstrate something at institutional level, you have to take into your mind that factors can be different, because career paths and the recruitment of the university can derive not only from the strategy of the university, but from personal motivation, for example. So I think that your study is well designed, but it's better that you clarify these points. If I was clear.
I thank you so much for all your notes and points. I think it is well related to what Dr. Emanuela said about empirical base. This is not an end point, but it's a starting point. Maybe this is how I can clarify by looking at. I didn't want to make research so packed. I didn't want to include everything like the documents, interviews, and the all these career paths. But in the end, I see now that it is needed, and I can do this from this maybe contextualization, because my context has been changing day by day during the empirical analysis. So normal, yeah. This is a very good point and very good conceptual point. So with interviews, it can be managed. Thank you.
You're welcome. I leave the floor.
Please. Yes, thank you for the presentation. I want only to highlight 2 points that my colleagues told you before, because from my point of view, I have 2 limits in this study. I base my comments and issue on the presentation and not, I don't have the paper. So the distribution of sample by university is an important aspect that you have to highlight. Emanuela said about this before, because in this case, I think you have a bias in terms of disciplinary, because you know that the mission of 4 universities changes. ETH is different compared to University of Lugano. There are disciplinary differences, and there are several
aspects that you have to consider that are based on the characteristic of the university. For instance, you have to consider the visibility of university in the international context by discipline. You know that Zurich universities is important, for instance, for STEM.
This kind of,
and this is a bias that you have to resolve in your paper. So you have to consider the several disciplines and the attraction of disciplines of this of the different communities. Then I think you should generate weights on the base of the numbers of career of the role within the university, because I saw the distribution about, for instance, the adjunct professor that is 4%, and I think is underrepresented in this case. So there is a bias about the number, the typology of role within the university, and that you have to take into account in the future work. So then I think you have to add other analysis, such Manuela said before, because you have to consider the attraction, the visibility of the university that change for people abroad, and other question disciplinary that I mentioned before. So you have to consider much more criteria in your analysis, because in this case I think there is a bias in the methodology and in the number of people within your sample.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for.
And so you have a question?
Well, yeah, just two curiosities.
Okay, please. Okay, you are. No.
This is. I agree with you about the adjunct professors, like the underrepresentation, but it is because of the selection criteria we started by 2010. So normally there are more adjunct professors, obviously, or like more. But maybe I can show this more clearly in my methodology.
Yes,
but
but
I
in this case, it's underestimated and influenced your percentage.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Okay. Thank you.
Just two very brief points.
Okay, just for the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering two curiosities that came on top of my mind. The first one is, what is the difference, I mean, among all your the classification you made and the 5 paths, the differences between the paths were quite clear to me from an intuitive point of view, except from the Path 1, Path 2 classification. So I was wondering, what are the implications of belonging to Path 1 or Path 2? And as well, I mean, as a researcher, but also from the university point of view, what is the difference of, as a strategy, a university level strategy, attracting Path 1 or Path 2? So from a theoretical framework point of view. And the second one is, since you are speaking of internationalization, you are considering an international student someone who made at least the PhD abroad, right? So I was wondering, are there similar studies that also consider high school degree or nationality as a feature defining an international researcher? I mean, I clearly see the point of choosing PhD as the trait defining an international research, but it's just a curiosity. What would be the implication of going beyond the PhD and maybe looking at some cultural, like international traits.
Okay.
So
Okay.
could a university also be interested in that part of, I mean, of having an international board of professor, an international, yes, corpus of professors, also beyond the PhD part? Could it be interesting? Just those two questions.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your first question. For example, path 1 and path 2 are can be differentiated based on the fact that in the first path, people with PhD abroad have these PhDs from, for example, Ivy League universities or very well-known top 10 universities. And when you look at their profiles, they are mostly either STEM or medicine related, but mostly STEM. So this can be an answer to your question, because of course there are some Ivy Leagues in path 2, but we cannot interpret this based on CVs. Maybe like interviews with these faculty members, or not on the institutional level analysis, but maybe on the individual level can say something. But path 1 is more like elite, like it's kind of an elite approach to recruitment, like these very small amount of universities from a very close communities from these Ivy Leagues, let's say. Regarding the PhD, I'm not aware of any of the research that you may suggest, so there might be some starting points, but in the literature, we choose PhD as a starting point. It is because of academic profession is defined by it, but also, of course, the nationality. In some CVs, there are information about the nationality, but this is not a common thing. Like, you cannot see every CV has this. But what I seen, it was interesting because those who holds dual citizenship has to say about it. So I'm holding Swiss German, I'm Swiss Italian, etc. Like even one saying I'm proudly Swiss Italian. It is like a discourse, but it is another discourse of another issue. So it was it could be biased. So that is why we didn't, and it couldn't be some systematic analysis. That is why we needed to just focus on and start with PhDs and institutions and countries of these institutions. That is the reason.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please, Loretta, can you have for the question?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have just a curiosity or maybe some clarification. I was thinking while I was following the presentation, you started your analysis, your research as taking as input for your to conduct the research the data or all the details presented in the curriculums of all faculty members. I don't know if you can consider also to make another a follow-up research starting from the requirements of universities, what they have published, in order to conduct or to control if there is a gap, because you presented the data based on the output. So you have done your research with the fact, with the people that are welcomed in these universities, but maybe if we have more information about the criteria that these universities present, or what the criteria they evaluate mostly compared to others, in order to have
I see your
complete
point.
information in this regard.
Thank you so much. So this is a very interesting question to me, because this was like, if this research has different versions of it, this was very early stages. Because at the first time that we are designing this, we were thinking, let's put all the CVs one side and also look at the call for positions for full professors, associate professors, and everything. And in the end, we see that, okay, if we are analyzing these call for positions, then should we do a discourse analysis to that? And then we see that there is a language, there is a discourse, okay, excellent global research, excellent this and excellent that. And we realize that these are not were giving results to us, because we don't know, for example, people who applied to these posts and who got recruited. So, like, without having that knowledge, we wouldn't want to add that part, because we keep that, okay, if we are not seeing that part, maybe we should consider this as a follow-up research that might be good to only focus on the discourse of recruitment strategies of universities. So this is an open debate now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if there are some other questions, and also from the audience.
May I add one thing which comes from in mind, the top of my mind, to make an example of the comment. I take from the comments of Lorenzo, which ask you what are exactly the global stars, what the global stars are. The way in which you can move on with your paper after having this first part of your research devoted to build the categorization is to discuss the categorization in terms of strategies, as we said. And in the example made by Lorenzo is very interesting, because, for instance, the global ones, global stars, is one clear example to me of the strategies of cherry picking of universities that don't make any interval between the completion of PhD and the recruitment, because these are already stars. And that's cherry picking for sure. And you can see in this respect that you will find, from my point of view, an orientation of PhD of people that recruited, that gained their PhD in US and in Germany. And this recruitment was done by Zurich and ETH. That's for sure. And you have a trajectory.
Yes.
Because you have a path, you know?
Yeah.
So it's much more, you can elaborate a lot. And that's a really good comment. Of course, also the methodological ones that have been done, all the comments are useful. But this is useful to understand how you can move on with your. On the contrary, I see your point. It's very interesting, Loretta. But for me, if you look at the publication, you look at another type of things.
Yeah.
Career path can be completely different, although the level of internationalization of the outputs is similar, and vice versa.
Okay. Yes.
You can have very local researchers which have publication in high-level journals, but they are local because they continue to stay in the country of origin. And this is because Switzerland is a highly internationalized country. That's the context. So it's the analysis is extremely interesting that you suggest, but it's another thing.
I'm not sure. Yeah, because I think that the visibility I spoke before this term, the visibility of university and the visibility of the researcher can influence the hiring of each university. So the recruitment of each university. There are specific recruitment based on the quality of research.
Not for
Not
the
in my
local,
case, it's
not for the local.
But that's true for the superstar, because if you are a high level university, you have the you have enough power to recruit a superstar when they finish their PhD, but it's not directly related to the scientific production.
Yeah.
You can have a high scientific production, but not be a
From my
superstar.
point of view, the recruitment in Zurich University is much more, in particular for STEM discipline, you know, in Zurich there are more Nobel Prizes or fields made. I think that this can influence the strategy of each university to
This is the specific,
have specific
task,
Zurich.
not a
Not
trajectory.
the same for Lugano and for Lausanne.
for this exactly. So you have to
Neuchâtel.
differentiate.
Neuchâtel. Yeah.
You have to differentiate the hiring strategy and policy for each university. For Coney, it's different to CNR in terms of recruitment.
That would be an
It's
interesting.
different.
So we have different positions.
I have. So yeah.
You want something?
Actually, no, thank you so much. All these comments and questions give me my way to deepen my analysis, which will take some time, but it's needed. So thank you so much for being here and joining us, our like presentation and debate. And thank you so much for all your comments and everything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everything. You for the next seminar that will be on it's in 10 days. We have a problem of too much seminar. We have a calendar problem. But okay. Thank you again to Pinar.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. See you to the next seminar. Bye bye.
Bye.